As we approach the end of the year, we wanted to look back on some of our highlights of 2024. So join us as we recap our How to ABA year in review. Hi, I'm Shira.
And I'm Shayna. We're behavior analysts who create weekly content about how to teach children with autism so that they make real progress. And we create shareable resources to make your job just a little easier. Today's topic is all about our year in review. And if you want more videos like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated on new video releases.
So before we get into all the good stuff that happened with How to ABA this year, we thought we'd talk about a little more personal stuff about the Shira and Shayna side of things. So starting with me, this year, I actually went back to school. And it feels really intimidating to say because it's going to be a long road and I still have 3 years ahead of me. But I am very excited to be continuing my education in ABA, and some of the conversations we're having are really interesting. I'm learning a lot of new things, and I'm excited to really be able to get it's all about the practical side of ABA and what I'm doing. And so I'm excited to continue to learn. I also had one child move out of my house this year. He graduated high school and he moves out, and our house feels very empty. And it's crazy to think about how quick time goes when you have kids. And but we're also really excited to be watching them grow up.
So you know now that you are accountable to everybody out there because you've told everybody you've gone back to school and now you're accountable for finishing, right?
I guess so.
You'll finish, you're fine. From a personal note on my standpoint, Shira and I were discussing it and looking back and going, I don't think I've really done that many new things this year. But, as always, I continue to work on that work-life balance. And I think I've got it pretty good. Really happy. And, you can't really put a price on happiness, right? Isn't that a tagline? Anyway, I think about a lot of the sports accomplishments that I've done. I'm a ski racer, for those of you who don't know, and I did okay last year. It wasn't my best season, but I was still out there doing it. And I was road riding. I do a lot of cycling in the summertime, and I did a 2-day event to raise money for cancer. And it was 100 miles each day. And that was in May, so pretty early on in the season. And it was great. I also took up mountain biking this year, which was a lot easier when I was 20 than it is now. But it was still really fun. And I've also taken up running again. So that's me. My daughter is in grade 8 already, so she's looking for high schools. And I don't know about any of you, but when I was in high school, it was just you go to the feeder school, you know exactly which school you're going to. And she has a whole bunch of applications and open houses and things like that. So that's been our big focus in the last few weeks.
Wow, that all sounds really intimidating to me. But we also wanted to talk about some of our How to ABA stuff. So one of our exciting things that we did this year was we launched our early executive functioning course with Dr. Schnee. And that's something that Shayna spent, a lot of time working on. And we've been really excited to release it and get all of that really nice positive feedback that you guys are enjoying it so far.
It was so great to work with Dr. Schnee. I feel like he's an OG in the field, and he does a lot with early learners. And this course wasn't so much about, I've got a 10-year-old who has, who needs to be taught executive functioning, but more so, how do you teach that early learner the planning and organization skills and just that searching and memory and all those types of things early on. So getting them really young at like 2, 3, 4 years old. So that's the course we developed. It's 3 CEUs, and there's a whole bunch of downloadable materials and just things that you're able to just download and then implement the program right away. So I was really excited about that. It was wonderful to work with him.
Let's talk about some conferences this year. We got to attend ABAI in Philadelphia. We attended the conference. We also got to present a workshop on the days before the conference. And while we love ABAI because there's so much to learn, it's also overwhelming how much there is to learn. But it's also a really nice opportunity to get together with other professionals, people that we've come to get to know through this platform and through meeting them virtually or via email, and getting to all get together and also, hang out socially while we were, going to all these learning opportunities was really special.
It was really awesome to be able to meet some of our members as well. People came up and introduced themselves, and that was wonderful because, we really were validated that we're making a difference, but also just in the fact that we see people's names all the time, but don't know their faces. So thank you for coming up and saying hi.
So speaking of conferences, we also sponsored Dr. Gregory Hanley's 2-day conference here in Toronto. He was brought in by Autism in Mind Charity, and we are huge supporters of the PFA and SBT model, and we're very excited to be able to sponsor that so that more people can learn about it.
We had a bunch of podcast guests on, and that was really exciting. Can I say my favorite? Peter Gerhardt is near and dear to me. I've met him probably 20, 25 years ago. He's an OG in the field, and him and his partner, his business partner, Shayna Berry, who are both authors of a book called Make It Meaningful. They were on our podcast, and they did a webinar for us as well in December. And it's just wonderful to be able to connect with them.
And we also got to do a collaboration podcast with ABA Inside Track, where we were on their podcast and then they were on our podcast. And for their podcast, we kind of stressed about having to present some sort of, research and articles review. And then we said, well, why don't you come on our podcast? And ours is a little more chilled out. We'll just talk about you. And in true nature to our podcast, which is all about like the real people who are practicing ABA, we just did a casual conversation, getting to know them a little bit better. And we love being able to, with our podcast, bring you real stories of ABA, which is really what our podcast is about. Because we do all that, good CEU stuff in our membership, but our podcast is more about the stories of the people who are practicing, what they're struggling with, some of their best advice. And we had some really great ones this year.
Yeah, it was great. But we actually did go on ABA Inside Track podcast, and as much as we stressed out about it, it was great. It was actually really fun.
I would say
it was a really we were great. No, we did it. It was just a really great experience. Rob and Diana and Jackie really made it easy, and it was wonderful. Layla Farshan from ABA Toolbox, who is a colleague but also a personal friend of mine, she came on our podcast and she did an ethics CEU for us as well.
We loved talking to Jenna Mazzillo, who is someone we had met through social media. If you don't follow her yet, you should. ABA Naturally. We also loved hosting some, real experts. We keep saying OG, but that's really what they are in the field. And it was Dr. Saul Axelrod from Temple University and Dr. Cody Morris from Behavior Analysis and Practice. And while we don't do that too often, it is nice to be able to bring you that side of the people who have been practicing in the field, who, they can present some research or something that they're working on, but also the other side of it is where the field is going, and some, great suggestions for newly minted BCBAs are all things that we talk about.
Dr. Paul Gavoni, who is an author of a whole bunch of books. He's also a behavior analyst. He was on, and it was really awesome to talk to him. Dr. David Celebrity from ASAT was on our podcast as well. And so was Stephen Ward from Whole Child Consulting, and his two co-authors, Madeline Vickery and April Dial. They came on our podcast, but also did a CEU for us.
We had Emily Varon from Ready, Set, Sleep. We also did our burnout collaboration with her earlier in the year in around February. And more will be to come because we love collaborating with her. She's just the best. And overall, our podcast has really grown. We're reaching over 250,000 downloads, which to us is kind of mind-boggling, because when we thought about starting a podcast, it just felt so daunting to be able to put that out every single week. And also, like, are people going to listen? But we try to keep it short and sweet. You can listen to it on your drive to work, and we've really enjoyed doing it.
Shira said something to me today that actually made me nervous. I'm not nervous at all recording podcasts anymore. But today she said, when you talk into the computer screen, 250,000 people hear you. And I went, oh my goodness. Other things that we've done this year, ASAT reviewed and approved the behavior blueprint. So we created behavior blueprint, I think, in 2023, but we're getting more people to look at it and, write reviews on it, what have you. It's really been very positive. All the people who have taken the course, the behavior blueprint is really meant for RBTs in the field. Some of them need some continuing education credits through work. This is 20 hours and it really breaks down the practical side of ABA. So it's not just about, okay, let's listen to some more, research and, whatever, and you can, watch this, but you can tune out. It's just really practical, and there's videos in there of how to do things and what have you. So we've heard some really great comments on it.
Speaking of ASAT, we also published 2 articles for them, 2 peer-reviewed articles. And ASAT is the Association for Science and Autism Treatment, in case any of you aren't familiar. They have a newsletter, a website, a whole bunch of great resources for behavior analysts. And we published 2 articles on, one was how to choose the right data collection method, and the other one was evidence-based strategies for teaching emotional regulation. So we were excited to be able to contribute to really such an outstanding area in our field.
We also wrote a blog for Different Roads to Learning, which if anybody doesn't know Different Roads to Learning, I love just going through their website and looking at all the products they sell. That's where I get a lot of ideas for teaching materials.
And one of the things that I'm really proud of was the series that we came out with. We launched it in the summer as a kind of get ready for school, because a lot of the content was relevant for people who are dealing with challenging behavior in a classroom setting or in a school setting. It was our FAC series. It was all about, cooperation over compliance. The whole series is probably less than 2 hours, I would say.
It's an hour, I think. It's really great because we were listening to our members, and a lot of our members were saying that for people who they train, they'd love some digestible content, like 5 to 10 minutes that, people who are new to this field can just listen to, on their break or right before they start work or, what have you. So we recorded 5 to 10 minute video clips. I think there's 10 of them. I know there's 10 of them. So they're just digestible. And again, we've heard a lot of positive feedback. And I think next year, getting ahead of myself, talking about goals for next year, but Shira and I were talking about expanding that series so that there are more digestible bits for people who need to train others.
Yeah, and I think the nice thing is that it's not about the technical aspect of the programming or running a session, which we cover in a lot of the blueprint and CEUs, but it's the mindset. And for a lot of people, that's a challenge, because how do you train a mindset? And this video series really talks about why that mindset is important, how to approach our students with challenging behavior, how to approach it with empathy and compassion. And so I really love that series, and you should definitely, if you haven't checked it out.
CEUs, we have recorded a lot this year. We're recording one live one each month, and sometimes we do 2, and there's a lot of asynchronous ones now. I think we've built a bank of asynchronous CEUs to about 60. So it's amazing. And we've also been able to bundle a few things. We did a whole series I was going to say this summer, but I guess it started in the spring, and it was called Assessment Through Programming. And we started off with, okay, so you've got a student and you need to run them through an assessment. That was the first part. How do you do that? And then how do you write programs, or how do you pick programs based on that assessment? And then how do you write the programs, and how do you run the programs, and, analyze that data, pick the right data collection method, and then give feedback as well.
Yeah, so it's about a 6-hour series, and we really feel like it's, your starting guide to the BCBAs who are, running ABA sessions or supervising ABA sessions. And so we've wanted to put it all together in a really easy, digestible way for you guys to consume.
So I feel like we've done so much. Like if we said, oh, this podcast is going to be about 5 minutes because we haven't done that much. And then we started talking, and we've actually done quite a bit in 2024. I want to go back and actually check out our 2023 year in review to see what that's all about too.
So let's talk about what we have planned for 2025.
So Shira doesn't want me to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. We have been asked to write a book, like actually publish a real book, not just a PDF online, but we've been approached by a publishing company. So now that I've said it, we need to make that a reality. So stay tuned.
Or not. We also are really excited about creating and developing a new website. We have our main website, which is How to ABA, where, you guys all access all of our content, a lot of free resources and our blogs and podcasts. but we're really working on upgrading the membership experience, whether you're a free or paid member, really being able to navigate all of our content and CEUs really easily and being able to have more options of the CEUs that you want to purchase. And so we are planning to release that in early 2025, and we are super excited about that. So stay tuned.
So speaking of CEUs, we do have a lineup already for January, February, March. So in January, we are super looking forward to Camille from Cusp Emergence University coming on, and she's going to talk about trauma assumed care. For any of those of you who don't know Camille or haven't heard of Cusp Emergence, go check them out. They're incredible. She's got a really awesome CEU series that, for training other staff as well. In February, we're going to do a CEU on flexibility, but we're also going to write some blogs and things like that on just flexibility through play, flexibility in terms of desensitization, tolerates losing, that kind of stuff as well. And then in March, for all of those of you who are QABA members, we are doing something on comorbidities and autism because that's really important. And I think you actually need some CEUs for that if you're a QABA person. So check that out or stay tuned.
So in line with the CEUs that we have planned, we talked about covering those topics for, a whole month, because then we can get a little bit more in depth. So we'll kind of pick a theme, and that theme will be covered in our CEU, but you'll hear a little bit about that theme every week. And that way, we'll be able to really cover a topic from different angles, from different perspectives, and you'll, feel like you learned something new that month.
And speaking of themes, Shira and I were also talking about releasing a series of just how to, we're how to ABA, and a lot of people have asked us, well, how do you teach emotional regulation, for instance, or what's your method for teaching WH questions, or how do I do this, or how do I do that? So we're going to try and create try. My father always says, try is an excuse for failure. Can't do that. We are going to create a series of how to little manuals.
And most of what we do is really in response to you guys, like our audience and our members. So continue to let us know what it is that would help you, what you're struggling with. If you don't even know what you need, tell us what you're struggling with. And we can, likely come up with a way to brainstorm, to help, to reach out to the community, to create something. So continue to let us know what that is.
For information on How to ABA's latest information, news, and latest products, click the link on or around this video or in the description to join the Behavior Resource Pro membership. We also encourage you to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any future videos, and leave a like and comment below if you have further questions.